It's time for another isolation conversation, and I'm with Cougars head volleyball coach Kendall Paulus. And Coach, it's crazy times. I told somebody else I've run out of ways to describe what we're going through, but it is what it is, and we all have to deal. And how are you dealing with what we're going through now?
Yeah, I'm doing well. This week we've been doing all of our closeout meetings with the girls because they're going, next week is their final week prep, and then they go to finals. So, we're not allowed to have any activity or required Zoom meetings for the next 2 weeks. So, honestly, I didn't realize I'd be that sad about it, but because we haven't seen them that much, I really look forward to it. So I feel like I kept them all on their individual meetings a little longer than I should have, because I was I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of the one who's gonna miss it more than them, maybe.
You echo kind of what a lot of the coaches have told me, in that we talk about the student athletes and what they're missing out on and this and that, but the truth is, there's a reason that you're in coaching, and part of that is being with the student athletes and seeing them on a daily basis. And we're missing out on that. You're missing out on that.
Yeah. And, summer is kind of that built-in time where we know we get a break from each other, but it's because we're usually sick of each other by now. And we didn't quite get to do that, missed out on some team travel in the spring. And, we would have been practicing every day still. And, we're usually ready for that break a little bit. And then we're excited to come back in July. And, I'm not ready for the break just yet.
Yeah. When I talked to the two soccer coaches, and I did that recently, we talked about the fact that I think top of people's minds are the spring sports and maybe even some of the winter sports that missed out. But for your program, for the soccer programs, a lot is accomplished in the spring. You get a lot done in that, exhibition season, if you will, where you get to train a lot and you get to play some games.
Yeah, it really hit me how much time had gone by since we had been with the team. When it popped up on our calendar that, would have been our last spring scrimmage last weekend. And I was like, wow, we didn't even get one. How our sport works is we get 4 competition dates throughout the spring, and we can play as many games within those dates as we want. But we didn't even get one in, so it was crazy to think that we've really been at home that long already. So I don't know about you, but I have a really weird balance of time. It's on one hand, I'm like, isn't it June yet? And then the other, I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, we haven't hit May yet. So that has been a challenge. But in terms of practicing with the team, this is where we make gains, and we were right at, hitting the curve of things are becoming habits, but they weren't yet. And we had acknowledged that as a group, our last practice before spring break. We thought some of our new habits we were trying to bring in were happening about 50% of the time. So we were excited to keep training and really see if that number could go up. So we just have to hope that we can at least come back in with where we left off.
How do you account for that? And how do you account for the fact that, like you said, you were getting to a good point in training. You're not going to have those 4, 5, 6 scrimmages that you normally would be able to put some of this into practice. How do you account for that now in our, new normal, if you will?
I'm just really grateful that we have this great veteran group, and that everybody's in the same boat. That really keeps me from dwelling on where we could have been because everybody else is in the same boat.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That it's certainly not anything that's unique to our program or our conference or anything like that. Everybody is going to be working under the same parameters.
Right.
So how much have you had a chance to get together and talk some volleyball, or have you kind of put that aside and, addressed other things, addressed the mental side, addressed the academics? What's been your approach, when you do get together with the team, whether it's as a group or even in small groups?
We've done a little bit of both. Week to week looks a little different. We started with voluntary volleyball assignments where they would watch some video and then give us feedback. It was basically for any like volleyball nerds who just wanted to watch some volleyball. So we did that like voluntarily where they could be learning about volleyball if they wanted. Their first like volleyball assignment, when we were able to require some activity, they each kind of put together like a highlight reel from the spring. And then we all talked through it in positions. And that was one of my favorite things we did, because a lot of them wanted to find like 5 perfect clips of themselves. And we just didn't have 5 perfect clips. And very rarely will you. You know, they were really nitpicky in watching their own video, but we got to talk through it and say why it was still great, and, you know, still talked about improvement a lot. And that's always the goal, you know, to keep getting better. So that was a cool assignment we did, but we're always talking about academics. So every time we're in an individual meeting, they've had an individual meeting with a coach each week.
How has the adjustment gone for your team, for your girls, academic-wise?
Yeah, academically, really well. It's kind of hard to track. You know, a lot of professors are doing things differently, even though it's all online. You know, the way they run their tests, you know, sometimes it's not timed at all. Some of them you get a few chances to get the answer right, and some of them are really strict, and you can't even go back to an answer. I couldn't believe that when I heard it. That's tough.
Yeah.
So each athlete, you know, is getting to describe how, you know, their own experience, because it's still different, even though they're all online. But they have been doing really well. I mean, we're lucky we've got a pretty responsible group, and they really like academics and going to class. So, but it has still been hard. You know, professors have been great, and really making sure that the athletes, all students, you know, have the opportunity to get the information and succeed, whether or not they keep the test hard or easy. But our girls are still ready for, you know, they're feeling the itch. Like it's still a lot of work, you know, so they're kind of ready for finals to come up.
And you mentioned that this is a group that enjoys excelling academically. So I'm sure that it is a little bit difficult as well when you're not in that routine of going to class and hearing the lecture and taking notes or whatever you're used to doing, or being able to, you know, work in a group, things like that. So even just that part of it's an adjustment.
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment, but I've actually been really impressed with the professors at SIUE. The fact that they can still keep them excited about, you know, the course, and that it really just didn't turn into you don't have, you know, too easy. Like that the girls are still really learning, and you know, that's allowing them to stay in a routine too. You know, having to do all the coursework, be on Zoom meetings and lectures. So I've been really grateful for that, because I think it's really helped them have a routine.
You and your program and a certain associate head coach have had a great presence on social media throughout this whole time that we've been away from campus. I've enjoyed watching Coach Young and your players when you do takeovers and the things that you've done. You know, was that something that's like conscious? And I know you do a good job, you know, all the time. But I have a feeling that that's something that your players also enjoy a lot of.
Yeah, you know, well, shout out to Coach Young. I mean, he does such a good job all the time. Like he really is great at that, and is always thinking ahead and can really think outside the box there. And so he does a great job. But we started with just having the girls sign up and volunteer to do the takeovers. We thought that might be the easiest way, as we were like kind of volunteering time. And then they started really enjoying it, and yeah, and we've got a lot of girls on the team right now. We've got a big spring squad, so we had a lot of people to be able to do takeovers. So
what about for you personally? Because a lot of the coaches I've talked to, you know, they've got their own kids that they're worried about in school, not something that you have to be worried about. But how has the quarantine and the isolation been for Coach Paulus?
Yeah, very different without kids. And again, Coach Young's getting a lot of credit. He's got 2 little ones running around, and trying to keep his wife happy, who's working diligently as well from the home office. And so yeah, my days look very different. I can still think volleyball and work all the time, so I really don't work like just 9 to 5 or
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to, work at night. I don't know. It's just I've got a new nephew right now, so I'm really just trying to focus on like connecting with my family, and I always want to do that, but it's hard. And a lot of people who know me well, I'm not a good texter. I'm not great with social media. Like I want to do those things. I think about it, and it's just not something that comes very naturally to me. So really just trying to stay connected to the people closest to me, along with the team and outside the team, has been something that's a little bit easier for me to do maybe than people who are trying to work and wrangle children.
You mentioned, you do like to do some work at night, things that, those of us who work in this profession, we're used to doing anyway, that we're working in sort of those off hours, if you will. So I know that part of it hasn't changed. What about your days though? Because your days are normally spent in the office or in practice, and there is none of that right now.
I always enjoy summer.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a time to put all the ideas that we had in the fall and spring, and a time for reflection, but a time to put those ideas like on paper and really think of some big picture ideas, which is a little bit hard, especially in the spring. This spring, it was just Coach Young and I. So running the program with 2 people, some of those things got put on the back burner. And while we were trying to recruit hard, we are going to be losing 6 seniors next year. So we were trying to hit the recruiting trail hard. So right now I'm just trying to be grateful for the time I do get now to think big picture and put some things on paper and, use the staff to get new ideas.
Have you had a chance to connect with other coaches, whether it be Ohio Valley Conference coaches or coaches, that you lean on anyway in this kind of situation, or, for volleyball stuff or outside of volleyball?
Yeah. I mean, personal development, career development is huge, huge for me. And I'm lucky that the rest of our, department is really in that same headspace. So we share a lot of great ideas and links. A lot of the things we do can, be transferred from sport to sport, especially within the coaching realm. So I've been on some really great virtual roundtables. The AVCA is our American Volleyball Coach Association, and it's fantastic. And I can get in 2 webinars every week. And those have been extremely helpful and great and give me great ideas. And then I'm trying to share with the other coaches, at least on our staff, but even throughout the department. So, yeah, people have been doing a great job on social media, really just trying to keep pushing information. So I think it's been a really great space where I've been able to get ideas and really just put my head down and work.
All of the coaches have told me that that's one of the things they miss, is not being able to chat in person, because there are so many things that you as coaches go through that is not unique to your program, but it is unique to being a college head coach. And, I see it all the time when we're in the office, whether it's in the break room or that coach's hallway, there's always some sort of collaboration, chatting. Everybody is very involved. And that is a huge part that is missing from me as well. I feel it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, like we have such a great group of coaches who are always trying to get better. And last week we actually jumped on a head coach's Zoom call real quick. It was really informal, but just to kind of let loose and see who needed to vent about something. And again, to check in with what each are going through and how they're handling it. And we talked about doing it this week, but this week's been a little crazy with closeout meetings. But I think everybody will be on board to, continue to do that every week.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you taking some time today and chatting with us for the conversation. I wish you the best of luck. I hope that sooner than later, when we get back together, it's on the volleyball sideline or in your office or in the break room somewhere in person.
Fingers crossed. And I heard that we're going to be doing a conversation with you, or Derek Brown might be. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's a great idea. So I might, push some questions to him to
I believe that is on the horizon. So
I'm excited for that. I think it's great.
Awesome.
Thank you for taking the time. And if I can give a shout out to all healthcare workers and people on the front line and those people that still have to go to work in general, I think just a huge thank you for, people out there risking their own health and their families. And I just really appreciate it.
100%. Well, thanks again for the time, and hopefully we will catch up again soon.
All right. Bye.
Thanks.